All right, we are now going to create a thumbnail-based logos gallery. So if we go down to our logo section, I'm going to create a new div, and the class for this one is going to be the logo gallery. And inside of this div, we're going to have our links to the different logos we want to display. So logo 1 through logo 6. And in our images directory, there's another folder called logos, and there are 6 images in there. And so we're going to go ahead and put these in anchor links, like so. So we're going to do that 6 times. Logo 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And same over here. Adjust the file name. Let's just do a quick refresh to see what that looks like. And so we have all of our logos here. And so we actually want these to be little thumbnails that the prospective client can click on. So let's hop on over to our style sheet and add that in. So we had a logo gallery, and I'm going to make the logo gallery be 80 pixels tall. Additionally, let's get our image specifically. We're going to make the image 60 pixels tall, and we want to center it vertically. So we're going to have the top margin be 10 pixels and the bottom margin also 10 pixels. So we have 80 pixels total. So let's refresh and take a look at that. So now these are nicely centered here inside of the logo gallery. We want to make it so when we hover over these, it's very obvious that we're selecting them. So let's go ahead and add here to our logo gallery, image hover, and we're going to do another animation. And this animation, I'm going to call it grow. It's going to take half a second to complete, and when it's finished, we want it to keep the final state of that animation as long as we're in this state. So that's what this forwards is. Alright, so let's make our keyframes. And for this one, there's actually only one keyframe, and that's basically start at whatever you are at, and then take your full amount of time. So after 100%, I want you to be 80 pixels tall. That's the height of our logo gallery. And I also want you to shrink your top and bottom margins down to nothing, so you take up the full space. So we have that there. Alright, and let's check out what that looks like. Refresh the page here, and now when I hover over these, they grow to take up the full space. We could also, if we wanted, we could make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and add, go from 80 to 100, and so I need to add 10 pixels on either side to keep these centered. I'm going to have this go ahead and grow up to 100 pixels. Let's check out what that looks like. So it's a much bigger animation. So if that's what you want, that's perfect. I prefer the smaller look, so I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Get it back to what we had before. I think the 80 pixels looks quite nice. Refresh that there. Perfect. Looking good in my opinion. Alright, so what I want to do now is when I click on these, I want to have the logo show up beneath them. So we're going to go ahead and create a section called, or not called, but give it the class logo preview. Go ahead and add that in here. And I'm going to create a span. So we're going to have to do a span trick like we did before with the jumping anchor tags. Just like we had to create a little bit special thing to get these not to get stuck under the header. We're going to do the same thing with our logos. So we're going to create a span. And we're just going to label these logo 1 through logo 6. And we're going to have these be our logo images. like this. And I'm just going to copy that 6 times. Logos 1 through 6, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's take a look at that. So again, they just show up, so we haven't added any styling. And I'm going to go ahead and add a similar border to these because we don't want them to just be there. We're professionals, so we want our images to look nice. So in our style sheet, in the logo preview section, I'm going to make it so our images have a nice border on them. So again, a nice thick border. 3 pixels, solid black. Again, you can adjust this to your likings. I'm going to give it a border radius of 25 pixels. And I'm going to make the height consistent so they don't look funky when you're switching through them. So I'm going to do height 500 pixels. And since I don't specify a width, it'll automatically scale the width to be nice. And again, let's center these. So margin 0. Do a nice little refresh. So you notice that they're all the same height, very consistent. And we got an automatic width scaling with that. These are looking pretty nice. Okay, so now our little trick here that we did, or that we're going to do, is for the logo preview, specify it as a class, we're going to make the span, by default, it's going to be invisible. You won't be able to see it. But when it's targeted, we're going to go ahead and make it so that it displays as a block. And so let's get a nice little look at that. So we look, there's nothing there by default, but when we click on these, it shows up. Again, we're jumping down. It's jumping to the top of the tag, so it's putting it at the very top of the page. So we'll fix that momentarily. But now, whichever one is selected by our link, that's the one that's displayed. And if none are selected, we don't get anything. So I'm going to go ahead and add in real quick a default. So I'm going to create a div here, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to just give it the class default logo, in case you want to style it later. And I'm going to go ahead and go with the 4th logo. That's the one with the dog. That's my favorite one. So I'm going to go ahead and debut that one. So if we refresh here, oops, I typed something in wrong. Up, logos. There we go. Refresh. And we get the nice dog image as our default. And right now, again, if you click on these, it's not going to overlap. So we need to do a little bit of extra CSS work to make this look perfect. So let's hop on back over to our CSS. And what we want to do is for our preview, we're going to make it so that the margin at the top gets shifted up. So we're going to go ahead and use the calc option here. And this lets us do a little bit of math. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do minus 500 pixels. So I want to overlap this dog image here. You'll notice there is a little bit of spacing here. And it turns out that that's because there's a margin of 10 pixels. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And if we refresh, now we get it overlapping the dog. There we go. So if we switch these, they overlap the dog. We don't see the dog anymore. But we still get this quite annoying jump going on. So to get around that, we're going to add in some padding at the top. And I'm going to do 335 pixels. It turns out this happens to be the correct amount of pixels to get it to line up so that the image is 335 pixels from the top to have it be aligned this way. And so additionally, we need to add that to our top margin. Reload here. And so now when I click this, we get this nice preview here with our image switching between them. Very nice. Now there's one minor thing left to fix here. I've noticed there's a slight border at the top of these. I can still see the dog default just underneath. And so I just need to adjust this by 1 or 2 pixels. Let's try 1. And that seems to be enough. Alright, so we're almost done. It's looking pretty good. Our little portfolio page here. We got our graphic design, our photography, and our logos. In the next video, we're just going to finish up the contact section, which should be pretty straightforward, and do some minor CSS stuff to make this really shine, be a lot prettier, and really impress prospective clients.